r/AskMen. Lapras Transform 35 says, what are some things women complain about men that you believe is projection? I think the notion that men often perpetuate beauty standards in the opposite sex is one of this. In my experience, I encountered more women that often judge men's appearance than the reverse. Although some men do perpetuate female beauty standards, I think most men are not very hung up about a woman's appearance or fashion sense. Cold Camel 7 says, women are much harsher on each other's appearances than we are on theirs. Wide Ultra DeMarcus says, reminds me of the Twitter post by that feminist, the patriarchy is not being able to wear the same dress twice at different public events, and some dude responded, there's not a single guy on this entire earth that gives a frick if you wear the same dress on 2 different occasions. That's all on women. The patriarchy is such a convenient catch-all excuse that always allows them to shift blame to us. Ultimate get out of jail free card. Soggy_sock 1931 says, also the statement that women don't dress up or wear makeup for men can't be true if they want to blame men for it. Last application 860 says, locker room talk. From what I've heard/seen, it is way more common for women to talk about their sex lives/their partner's intimate moments in detail than it is for men. Most of my guy friends never have discussed much in detail about their sex lives with their partners. Boozywan says, my experience has been that men will discuss women that don't matter to them. One night stands or someone they've hooked up with only a couple times. They keep the private moments private when they're emotionally attached. SRY says, IDK. Back in uni, even when my friend was bragging about a threesome he actually had, he was reluctant to provide any details. Throughout my life, I knew only one guy who liked speaking about what actually happens in bed. Like Minamisel Nino says, I feel like a lot of the complaints I see pertain to a certain type of man, and they always want to interact with that type of man despite having so many complaints. Utrin says, growing up with only sisters and around nothing but women. The more they complain and talk shit about a certain man, the more they want to frick him. So that's why it makes sense when studies have shown that feminist and even radical feminists are still attracted to pursue and have relationships with the traditional man they supposedly despise. Vijchti says, when I was a younger man I was given perspective from an older player. He said that women are more attracted to men who emotionally simulate them. It doesn't matter if it's excitement or anger, just as long as it's intense and memorable. I found that to be somewhat true for some women. I do think the effect is less pronounced or even reversed in proportion to a woman's maturity. Martial Bob says, I don't know if it's projection, but if you don't have a significant dating history by a certain point in your life, women seem to treat that as a red flag. I really think women don't get this, but they really never approach men romantically at all. I know a bunch say they do, but I'm skeptical. So a guy could be a 10 in most women's eyes, but if he's got just enough social awkwardness to not feel comfortable enough to approach women, he will never get a date. Kevin_Lestrange says, it's a real catch-22, isn't it? Women say they like a guy with confidence, and in this case it means the kind of confidence that comes from successfully dating women, meaning lack of inexperience and lack of awkwardness around women. Which is fine, but a guy is not going to get that without dating women. This_might_be_offensive says, not just the confidence to have already dated a bunch of women, but the confidence to know he can continue to do it. It doesn't even matter if you're famous, a supermodel, or will do anything he wants in bed. You'll be as temporary as the rest of them were to him. And yet, they still want that guy. r/AskMen. Vivek Old Toes says, men who aren't allowed to show frustration, stress, fear, or anxiety, how do you cope otherwise? I've observed and have found myself that sometimes, if you're in a relationship with the opposite sex, they can quickly/easily become nervous or anxious if you voice your opinion in any way other than just general exchanges. Men, how do you manage very stressful, world-ending, or otherwise really difficult situations in which you're not allowed to show elevated emotions? Metal_head27 says, you should be able to communicate with your partner about your frustrations, stress, fears, and anxiety. If they are not willing to listen to you, then you need to end the relationship, because a relationship is a two-way street and you should be able to talk about all those things, rather than have to cope with it on your own. My girlfriend and I take time to talk about all those things and work together, so that one doesn't feel alone or neglected, because that just creates resentment towards the other person. Level Dog 7630 says, if your partner is not allowing you, or you feel not allowed, because of how your partner responds, to show elevated emotions, the issue may be the relationship, not your need to control and subdue your emotional response. Felasimzori says, no one allows or disallows me to do anything. I'm comfortable expressing my emotions, and my partner is happy that I do. I don't get in relationships with people who are like whatever you're describing, and if I ever did, it would be over very quickly. I don't think I know anyone like that, tbh. I could see someone getting freaked out by excessive anger or inappropriate emotional responses, so maybe that's what's going on. I think some dudes think bottling up their emotions until they reach some breaking point and then freaking out like a toddler is showing emotions, when it's actually demonstrating a lack of maturity. Nami name 12345 says, die younger on average. Corvus says, just explain what's happening and what your plan is in a calm tone. You should be able to voice your opinion. Most of the time, it's not what you say, but how you say it. Kaxia Cavalli says, what do you mean aren't allowed? Are you not allowed? This sub gets the weirdest loaded questions sometimes. Mephistics says, simple, I don't really care all too much. Freud 2008 says, by blasting Nyan Cat on full volume in my station wagon while I fly down the highway with the windows down. Sikpa P01 says, my wife can normally calm me down in these situations and we carry on normally. She always listens to these type of things. But there are issues, finances etc, that are still there after being talked through, and that will keep you awake at night. At this point, I either kill loads of enemies in games, or go for long hikes. Both seem to discharge my negative energies. Cold Kamal 7 says, we handle it by handling it, i.e. doing what needs to be done. We don't have time to lose our shit by letting emotions control our behavior. Responsibler Rip says, very easily. Will this issue cost me my life or the life of my wife? If the answer is no, then it's no big deal. Any other answers, and I better get to work to make a solid contingency for it. Mosinal_Negru says, I act like a hydrophobic Wolverine when nobody can see or hear me. Miguel Illuminati says, game and workout. FO0 Sluts says, focusing on what I can take action on and doing it. If there's nothing tangible I can do, negative emotions do nothing for me. It's mental masturbation. Worrying doesn't make me any more prepared. No one wants to be in the trenches, under fire, with someone who shits themselves. Also, I used to smoke a lot of weed. Too much weed. No_college_636 says, I lift weights. Hortfie says, do a push-up. Alter 13 Sirio says, I just keep doing the shit I'm supposed to do. I'm literally improvising every single day, kicking myself with anxiety until what needs to happen happens. As long as I'm not dead by the end of the day, it means I did an okay job. I think. Captain King Cock says, I talk with female/male friends. I have 3 to 4 with whom I talk openly and without judging. And they do the same with me when they have the need to talk. So it is important to have a small social network where you support each other. I can recommend this to all men. Also, it is far better and cheaper than talking with a psychologist. But whatever you do, don't keep it inside. Go to your very close friends you hate maybe for decades and open up. You will be surprised how willing they are to listen to you, as they care for you. r/AskMen. Reddit dev Scansmel says, how did you get over rejection/getting dumped? As title says. Automatic_sweet7302 says, a boy proposed a girl and she rejected his proposal. But the boy was not sad. His friends asked him, why are you not sad? He replied, why should I be sad? I lost the one who never loved me. But she lost the one who really loves her. It's her bad luck, not mine. Well, this is obviously a story, but it speaks volumes about how to handle rejection in a relationship. Tuzoots says, by realizing there are plenty more out there. Elegant Monkey says, my dude, there can be a million reasons to reject someone with the reason not being you. Pitiable Crescendo says, time. MK_987654 says, just being an attached and realizing that they are doing you and themselves a favor. They are freeing you up to find someone who does want to be with you. Plus I would want them to be happy, even if it means they end up with someone else. OK_Hedgehog7137 says, you write down all the reasons why this person was not good for you, and every time you think of them, go back and read that list. Uneven Ping Pong says, kept trying and went numb lol. Justin7 says, I quit putting things other than me as priority. That and being single is like riding a bike, you never forget how to do it. Amazing Variation 82 says, time and new opportunities. Themausen says, as the saying goes, time heals. It hurts a lot at the beginning, but it fades over time. I got rejected 5 times until now, and each time I had a huge crush on that person, and it hurt like a biatch at the moment, but I got over it. The fact that I kept being friends nonetheless with them also helped. Buketkali4 says, time. Owning how you feel, and give yourself productive/fun things to do just for you. This helps remind you that you love yourself. Hikes Zero Voltage says, I figure it was going to happen, so it wasn't a shock when it happened. Is it something that I'm used to? No. Does it still bother me? Yes. But when it happens, it doesn't hit me like a ton of bricks. Friendly_Kingster229 says, go out and have fun. Rejection is part of the game, and if you want to play then you have to deal with it. Bruno_Lars says, with more rejection. Blue377 says, accepting it and moving on, rather than holding on to it. Johnny_Menace says, in for answers. Scott3564 says, rejection is easy to get over. You asked a girl out, she said no, you just move on. That wasn't the girl for you. Getting over a breakup is a lot harder. You love that person and them not being around sucks. Only thing that helps that is time. Shrieking Muppet says, I used to sit there say well I took the shot, drank a bit more than I should that Friday, and then went back to looking. I stopped drinking, so now I said, frick this and work on the grind. Thlanfanin 814 says, don't blame yourself. While it sucks, the best thing to realize is that you want that person to be happy. Do you want them to be with you but miserable? Do you want to force them to stay or give you a chance? Do you want them to pretend to be happy? I've dated and been with women that didn't make me happy. Experiencing it from both sides helped me realize that's not a healthy relationship and not good for anyone. While it took me years to be okay being dumped by the love of my life, I reflected on why it happened and it helped me find comfort. I stopped blaming myself. While I still love her, I know there wasn't a scenario where we would have worked out. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.